Mystery Tour, written by Bridie Banwell and read by Claudette Evans. This is not where I'm supposed to be. Before I could control myself, the words had slipped out. It was a shock to hear myself speaking in a voice which sounded alarmingly loud. To my amazement, the other passengers occupying the carriage stared in my direction for a fleeting moment. As one, they then turned their gaze away from where I was sitting by the window. It seemed as if they were all momentarily acting under the influence of a hypnotic trance. Almost immediately their behaviour returned to normal, and they either read their papers, gazed at the pages of books, or simply stared through the window at the scenery flashing past at great speed. I noticed all of the passengers were dressed in clothes of the style which were very fashionable during the era of the 1940s. They were probably on their way to one of those themed weekends, temporarily relieving an era from the past, as so many people seem to want to do nowadays. It gave them the opportunity to literally step into the shoes and clothes of bygone days and briefly enjoy the lifestyle of other eras. These themed weekends were increasing in popularity as time went by. It was as if the present was just somehow nowhere near as much fun to live in as the days long past. Maybe the pace of life was too fast or just not interesting enough in the present day. It was an uncomfortable feeling being the odd one out, dressed in black jeans, t-shirt and leather jacket. The passengers carried on conversations among themselves. It was unnerving to be totally ignored. There was an odd feeling scrabbling away at my subconscious. I could not recall boarding this train. I had no idea of the train's destination. I was about to ask someone where we were going, but one glance at the faces of the other passengers told me this would not be a good idea. It was strange that I was in a carriage of an old-fashioned steam train. That would explain the other passengers' clothing. Yet, if it were a themed weekend, then it made sense to travel in transport of that era. It did not explain why I was travelling on the same train, though. My head was aching slightly, as if I had suffered an injury of some sort. Could that be why the memory system of my brain had suddenly and inexplicably failed? It dawned on me that I knew nothing about myself. The realization was so shocking, tremors rippled along my spine, making my blood run cold. Who am I? What is my name? Where do I come from? Why am I here? Do I have any family? Where is my home? These questions, like an avalanche, fast and furious, streamed into my mind, searching for answers like miners digging for precious metals. The mine was empty, and there was no gold. There were no answers to the questions, just an impenetrable brick wall. I tried in vain to scale the wall, and when that failed, used my full power of concentrated thoughts to try and break through it. With the greatest concentration, I imagined a trowel scraping the mortar from between the bricks halfway up a wall. After a long time, the trowel became visibly solid and went to work hastily, scraping the mortar until a brick came loose, then another and another. Eventually, more bricks loosened and became dislodged as the mortar cracked and slipped away. The trowel suddenly stopped as an almighty crash sent the remainder of the bricks tumbling to the ground, landing with loud thuds. When the wall was totally destroyed, there was a brief glimpse of light beyond, just a flicker at first, like the flame of a candle blown by the draught. The flame spluttered and almost died, but the force of my will saved it, causing the fire to burn bright and strong. The questions battled to be answered, but the mind had weakened from the sheer effort it had taken to break down the wall. My eyelids closed suddenly like shutters falling due to power failure overload. The black fog dissipates, and once again I am alert to my surroundings. To my dismay, the wall has rebuilt itself and is much higher than before, much denser and more impenetrable. I am no nearer to solving the riddle which is my life story. My eyelids flicker, trying to open, but it's as though the lids have been smeared with glue while my mind shut off. After a great deal of struggling, I force my eyelids apart. The scene before me has completely changed now. This train I find myself travelling on is much older model than before my blackout. It is a model from the 1930s, a decade earlier, and the passengers are dressed in clothes which were fashionable in that era. There are only 4 passengers sharing this compartment, but strangely they seem totally oblivious to my presence. I cannot help staring at each one in turn, searching for some hint that they can see me. I stand and walk towards the old-fashioned door and pull the leather strap, opening the window a couple of notches. The sudden cold breeze causes the passengers to look towards the window and directly at me. They looked almost stunned to see the window open. They stare at each other, but don't speak. I know they are oblivious to my presence. Both women shiver involuntarily, as if a ghost had trodden a path of ice-cold steps across their imaginary graves. "Look at me! I'm here! Surely you can see me! Can you not hear me? Please say something, anything!" I shout the words as loud as possible, but my voice is barely a whisper, so quiet that it is inaudible even to me. I eventually take a seat and force every fibre of my being to be calm and think rationally about the situation I'm in. I know that I am alone in the world. I possess a deep understanding of that fact now. I am young, strong, and here for a purpose, of which at the moment escapes me. These few scraps of information are of great comfort. If I know these things, then surely it is logical to expect there will be more answers to my endless questions in time. A glimmer quickly bursts into a small flame of hope. I concentrate my mind on the passengers sharing this carriage. Every detail is noted and imprinted to memory. Though the passengers are completely unaware of my scrutiny, there are brief glimpses in my direction, as if some sixth sense has picked up my signal. The man to my right looks around 40 years old, as a guess. He is dressed in a black and grey double-breasted pinstripe suit with wide lapels. His polished brogues are of black leather. He is wearing a shirt of pale grey with a dark grey tie and a jewelled tie-pin in the form of a dragon. The cuffs of his shirt, visible below the jacket sleeves, show cufflinks that match the tie-pin. He wears a black hat with a wide brim pulled low on his forehead, shielding his eyes. Immediately, it springs to mind that he has something to hide. He stares intently at the floor, arms folded across the chest. My eyes widen suddenly as the lapels of his jacket briefly gape open to reveal the handle of a gun inside a leather shoulder holster. He must have sensed something was amiss, and he unfolds his arms and straightens the lapels concealing the weapon. Once more the gun is completely hidden. No one else has noticed a thing. The hat is pulled even lower, hiding his face and his secrets. The man seated to my left is elderly, at least 70 years old, dressed in a black suit. His shirt is white and tie plain black. He has the look of someone mourning deeply for a loved one now gone. His red-rimmed eyes are heavy with sorrow and swollen from the flow of many tears. I can almost feel the heavy burden of his immense grief. Whoever he has lost leaves heartache so deep it is almost palpable. I turn away, finding it almost impossible to bear his sorrow a moment longer. I hear the chatter of the women and glance across the carriage to see their heads bent close towards each other as they engage in conversation. I stand up and walk towards the window. No one sees me, of that I am certain. I must be invisible. The train enters a tunnel, the lights flicker, and I catch a glimpse of my reflection in the window. It is a great surprise to see what I actually look like. I am tall and slim. My hair is dark as a raven's wing. My eyes are dark brown. My skin is a very pale shade of cream. I look like a ghost, but know that I am very much alive, even though the passengers do not seem to see me. They seem to sense my presence. I am suddenly alert to a noise behind me and leap into action without thought. The carriage is almost dark as the train shunts through a long tunnel. Yet I have no difficulty in seeing everything clearly. The younger man has reached inside his jacket for the gun, and I know with certainty he means to shoot the older man. Before he has time to grab the gun, I have knocked him senseless with a blow to the right temple. I take the gun from the holster and run for the door and slide it back. I pull the trigger and fire a couple of shots into the corridor, alerting the guard. As the guard runs towards me, I run back into the carriage and place the gun in the assassin's hand. The lights suddenly burn brighter as the train leaves the tunnel. The guard enters the carriage, sees the smoking gun, and quickly handcuffs the gunman. The elderly man was the target. I receive a short burst of information, like a text on the screen of my brain. The elderly man is a scientist who will one day, in the future, make a great discovery. The text ends, no mention of what that discovery might be. The black fog draws near, and the brain shuts down. Consciousness once more brings me a change of location. I seem to think more clearly now. The wall is still inside the brain, but there are bricks missing, and chinks of light are streaming through the gaps. A trickle of information seeps in, filling the dark, empty corners with light. The answers to some of my questions filter through, again like short text messages. My name is Victor. I'm on a mission to save certain scientists from assassins hired to halt technological advances. These scientists will one day change the world. I am now further back in time and once more travelling by train. It must be early 20th century. The passengers' clothes confirm this. There are two women, both young mid-20s, one dressed in fine silk and velvet, one dressed in a drab grey dress and black cape. A lady and her maid, I seem to think. An elderly man is sitting near the window, engrossed in reading some papers taken from a briefcase. His hair is neat, cut short and steel grey. His clothes are dark but smart. He has keen, bright, intelligent blue eyes. I sense he is the target. I quickly observe the other passengers. Just two more men share the carriage. One is a young vicar. The other is a middle-aged, portly man. I know that they don't see me, but instinct tells me that time is of the essence. Which one is the assassin? The young one or the middle-aged one? I know that the killer will make a move soon, but who is the target? I stand and look closely at each passenger in turn, searching their faces, hoping to catch a glimpse of the intention behind each pair of eyes. A tunnel is just ahead. I know that there are just seconds to spare. The lights flicker inside the carriage, and it grows dark, but my eyes can see clearly what each passenger is doing. I'm alerted to the maid dressed in the drab grey dress. She is reaching inside her bag. I stare at her as she pulls out a long hatpin, the pointed end sharp, a lethal weapon in the hands of an assassin. I know without doubt she is about to commit murder, and in a flash have grabbed her arm in a vice-like grip as she lunges towards the portly middle-aged man across the carriage. She struggles in frustration and rage, but I won't let her arm loose. She does not see me in the dark and is determined to carry out her assignment, going wild in her rage. The tunnel comes to an end. The lights once more burn bright. The maid looks around and sees no attacker. She is flailing with all her might and screams loudly. The other passengers see what is happening. The hatpin is wrenched from her grip, and she is grappled to the ground and her hands tied. She will be arrested at the next station. My mission is accomplished. I fade out once more. The shutters lift, the mist clears, and once more I am alert to my surroundings. The wall in my mind is crumbling away, slow at first, then at great speed, and the information comes through thick and fast. I almost black out with the speed and intensity of data lighting up my brain like a pinball machine. I'm fully aware of who, or indeed what I am now. The knowledge is welcome but unexpected. I look around the pristine white walls of the laboratory. There are many scientists in their white coats at various steel benches working on experiments using sophisticated equipment. There are computer screens suspended in the air. The aim of the scientists is to change the world for the benefit of mankind, or so they convince themselves. I know that I am in many hundreds of years in the future. I know that the scientists developed devices like microchips filled with information which could be implanted in the brain. These microchips enabled the recipient to travel through time and carry out their missions. The only glitch was the fact that these microchips had malfunctioned in the brains of all the human guinea pigs, killing them instantly. Several hundred prisoners had died as a result of the experiments. In the end, the scientists had developed the technology to build sophisticated androids. I was the first of these androids, the prototype, that functioned perfectly, which is why they now named me Victor, as in victory. Yes, I know all the answers now, the reason for my existence, my name and my purpose in life. Yes, I am alive. It may not be the same as a human one, but it is one which had a beginning and one which will have an end. I'm grateful for the experience and hope my existence will last for many years to come. The man in the white coat approaches, and I am ready to face the next task. I will just insert a new chip, Victor, then. Bon voyage and good luck. The darkness descends, and once more I leap into the unknown.